Hey guys, welcome back. So in this episode, I'm going to be talking about 5 retro games that I beat in 2018 that I never played before, or at least never actually got into the game. Maybe I turned it on and then turned it back off, but that I enjoyed, and I'm glad I went back and played them. Now the list isn't any order, it's just, retro games that I beat that I liked, obviously, because I kept playing them to beat them. So this is basically games from Atari, anything older than the Wii is what I considered retro at this point. The Wii and newer is still, not too far back last gen, especially because the Wii U can play the games. Xbox, I guess you'd consider them probably retro at this point, but I consider GameCube and back, PS2 and the original Xbox, I guess, are the retro, where Wii, 360, and PS3 is just last gen. So, let's go really far back. First game on the list of classic games that I was excited to beat this year, or this past year, 2018. Zork 1. Played it on DOSBox, and I really enjoyed it. The game was clever, the things you could type into it, the way the system responds to you. For a text-based adventure, even in 2018, still fun to play. That game would have been mind-blowing back then, and it still is an enjoyable game that's fun to play. So, go ahead and play it if you haven't. It's really easy to set up, tons of emulators. Just pop up DOSBox, load it up, and you're ready to go. It's not too difficult. You can follow a video on YouTube, and you're good to go. It was fun. And if you don't know what you're doing, there's a lot of replay value. It can get frustrating. It can be, a little difficult and repetitive if you don't catch on to what you're supposed to be doing. But once you figure out what you're doing, and you got a game plan going, you could probably beat the game in 20 minutes. But the time to take to get up to that point, a couple hours easily, a couple days, playing off and on, restarting the game, this and that. The game can be brutal if you don't follow the rules of the game. But once you know the rules, it's great fun. I can't wait to play the second and third one and beat the whole story. But yeah, great game. Definitely check it out. And it can be quick if you played other games like that before. So, yeah, check it out. All right, next up, I just beat this one right before New Year's. I'm really glad I played it. I've always seen the videos. I played like later entries when it was 3D, but this one's for the NES. And I never played it as a kid, and I'm really angry that I didn't. I think this would have been a great game to always had as a kid to play. I'm glad I discovered it now because I can't wait to play the sequels. And that game is Ninja Gaiden. Awesome game. Controls well. I played on the NES Classic online for the Nintendo Switch, and it plays flawlessly from what I know. I've never played on the actual NES, but on the Switch, awesome game. Handles well, handles great. Having the save feature and loading the game up really helped me get past some of the harder parts, because the game can be hard, but at the same time, it's pretty fair if you follow along with the way the game goes. And you can definitely beat it. The great thing about it, it's not one of those NES games where you die, you go all the way back to level 1. Now, usually if you're on a certain level, you just start over at the beginning of that level, which I think is really fair. And there's only a couple of times where I had to do the whole save and keep trying out the same part to try to get past it. But yeah, getting to the end of the game was awesome. Playing the bosses were awesome. And all doable. You figure out the patterns of the game, you can play it no problem, and it's really fun. Great cinematics, great storyline. I would have been mind blown if I played that game for NES when I was a kid. Considering that, Super Mario 1, Super Mario 2, Ninja Gaiden would have just been off, just really, really mind blown at the time. I'm glad I got the chance to play it now, and I can't wait to play some of the sequels for it. Hopefully they're quite as good. All right, this one, it's fun for people that like puzzle games and like being repetitive playing the game, and just can't put down a controller because you want to beat the level. Solomon's Key. So, not much of a story game. It's basically just 40, 50 levels of puzzles. And each one gets more difficult, harder, and you have to repeat the levels over and over and over. Now I'm playing this on the Nintendo Switch as well. So the great thing about that, you can save, try things over, which is great. I like the ability to save and try levels over and over and over, especially for the old NES games, because I have so many games, I don't have time to start a game over completely or any of that for any NES games. So I like having the save options because it allows me to get past the game a little bit quicker. I set rules for myself usually, so like I can't save more than once during a level, or I can't save every single level, stuff like that. Depending on the game, after a bit of playing, I figured out the rules to make the game still difficult, but still not, I gotta go all the way back to the beginning, or something along those lines. So with Solomon's Key, that's kind of a key. It's a fun game, great puzzles, and it's long. It's hard. Some levels can take 20 minutes to beat if you're really stuck. And I definitely say check it out. If you have a Nintendo Switch, go right on there. It's on the NES section, and it's a great game. I wouldn't say, it's one of Nintendo's best games on the NES, but, for an NES game that's a puzzle game, it's fun. I definitely check it out. Yeah. All right. Next up. So this is an arcade game. Never played it before. Found it at my local arcade this summer when I was going there. Burger Time. Now, I've heard people talk about Burger Time. Never thought about the game. Like, oh, that's kind of a cool name. Looks interesting. I'll check it out one time if I ever see it. Saw it, put my quarter in, and yeah, it's awesome. It's not a long game, but for an arcade game, for one quarter, if you get even decently good at it, you can play like 3 or 4 levels on a quarter. That's not bad at all. And for, a little arcade play, it's great. I really enjoy it. It handles well, and it's an arcade game from the 80s. You can't really go wrong. It handles well, and it really represents what a good arcade can be without being overly quarter-sucking for your pocket. All right, one more arcade game before we get to the last 2 games of the list, or last 3. Congo Bongo. So I've never seen that game either. But over the summer, I did a little arcade adventure series where every time I went to the arcade, I played 5 new arcade games. Check out the video. It should be in one of the videos. Basically, it's made by Sega, and you're kind of an explorer trying to get to the top of the thing to get to the monkey. Yeah, sounds familiar. It handles well. It's fun to play. It's a little difficult, but that's kind of okay with arcade games. It makes you try to come back and keep beating them. Obviously, I'm not beating arcade games, but, to me, beating an arcade is a little bit different. To me, playing it and getting past a couple levels is an achievement like beating it like a console game. So, if I can play an arcade game and get past 2 or 3 levels, to me, all right, I've conquered the game. Now I can keep playing it to try to get better at it and maybe get further. Where a console game, to beat it, you're not 100% in it, but you're getting to the end. It's kind of similar to me when I think about it that way. So, yeah, those are great. Check those out. Now, these are even older. Well, not as old as Zork, but pretty old. So, yet again, after listening or reading Ready Player One, Adventure. I'm like, all right, I have to play it. I want to get that Easter egg. I want to find it. And you know what? If I had an Atari as a kid, Adventure would have been a fun game. It's not a very long game. Once you know what you're doing, you can probably beat it in 10 minutes. But to get to that point, as a kid, that probably would have took months, maybe, depending. It's a fun little adventure game. You're a little square. You got your little arrow that looks like a sword, and you have to fight these dragons, collect the keys, and you can play it on different difficulty levels, which makes the game longer or harder. And that's kind of nice too. So you can play on easy, medium, and hard, I think it was. And that one gives you an extra dungeon to have to explore to get the key. And you know what? It was a fun game. It's a quick game. If you have an Atari Flashback or anything like that, and it's on there, check it out. It's fun. It's not difficult. And even though it's basic graphics, it's still great. Last on the list, Pitfall 1, Pitfall 2 for the Atari 2600. It's fun. I mean, the only way to really beat it is the last 20 minutes and collect as much gold as possible. I made it past the 20 minutes, got like over 100,000 because in the book they say, you know, score of 100,000, send in your score to get a free item, I think it was. So I'm like, well, that's my goal. Let's just get 100,000, last the 20 minutes. And once you learn the game and learn how to control your guy, it's fun. It's not a difficult game. The crocodiles are annoying, especially when they open their mouth and you fall through. But it's a simple game, a great little platformer. Definitely check it out. Now, Pitfall 2 bumps it up a level, gives you like a giant cave to explore, 3-4 levels, different screens, a lot larger than Pitfall 1 and different. I would say it's definitely an easier game, probably more enjoyable because of being a little bit easier, and you really feel like you're exploring, where Pitfall 1, it's kind of like you feel like you're on one screen, just keep rotating and just trying to last the 20 minutes. But Pitfall 2 ramps it up. You really feel like you're an explorer, and it actually made me start playing Pitfall for the Wii because I found it on my shelf, which I haven't beat that game, but that's a fun game. It kind of feels like a Super Mario 64 style game for the Wii. Apparently it came out for the GameCube and stuff like that, PS2, but I'm playing on the Wii. It has like, you know, a very kind of funny storyline because the guy's set in like the 1930s, but check that one out too, that's great. Alright, so those are the games I've beaten for 2018 that I enjoyed and kept me going all the way through the end. So, yeah. I played some others, but those are the ones that I really enjoyed, that I actually wanted to beat. Alright guys, well, hopefully 2019 brings some more fun games for me to play that I like enough to beat, and maybe I'll talk about the ones for current gen that I played and maybe didn't get a chance to beat, but really enjoyed before I moved on to another thing. Alright guys, have a good night, keep on gaming, let me know the games you beat for 2018, and I'll catch you next time.